Hi everybody, my name is Sarah, Pearls of Wisdom and Food with Keto Under 20, which is exactly how I'm having it today and exactly how I had it yesterday. And even though I posted my rare dive into something different and then threw it all out after 2 bites, I plan on being Keto Under 20 until further notice. UFN. Until further notice. So a couple of people who are new to my channel have been asking me, how did I get here? Who am I? What's your backstory? Can I trust you? Who are you, Sarah? Well, okay, so I'll do this in stages. I was born Gail. I was adopted the day after the Brinks robbery in 1951. Born in 1950, and in Plymouth there was this great big Brinks robbery truck robbery, and my parents described me as being used as a plot in the robbery, and then I was adopted and given another name. Ha 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 ha. So I'm an only child. I never found my parents. My mother's an only child, and my father had 2 brothers that were twins 4 years younger than him. And I was raised in a serious dysfunctional alcoholic family. Oh yeah, baby. Today, if I was being raised in that family and DCF was around then, I'd be removed from the home instead of being adopted into the home. So I grew up, my normal was no food in the house, tons of booze, tons of shame inherited from my parents for things that I hadn't even done. I'll say yet, because then I became a drinker too. And so, my journey began, and in this privileged town, and where there were yacht clubs and people had other houses, and everybody, there was nothing that, probably my parents were whispered about. Certainly the parties that I had at my house were whispered about. But at an early age, I discovered food. And even though there was none in my house, it's kind of like the lack of food created the need, if you know what I mean, for the addict to bloom. So at 9 years old, I became a chubby little girl. And I grew up fast hormonally. At 9 years old, I began things that you don't begin until a couple of years later. My body developed into that of a woman, and so there was a lot of torturous teasing. So I could go home and medicate with food that I bought with my babysitting money, because there wasn't food in the house. I'm telling you, when I say there's no food in the house, I mean there's no food in the house. And my parents were mostly interested in drinking, carousing, and things like that. So it was a perfect storm with my brewing addictions, food being the first one that came to land. And I became parentified, as they say in the field of psychotherapy. And I was raising my parents, if you know what I mean. I was driving for them well before you could legally get a license, because at least an underage sober person was better than a drunk person driving. And so I grew up in this whimsical world of you'll never have any problems, there will always be enough money, and so we don't buy food, who cares? And I began to raid the homes that I was babysitting in, and then on nice days when I'd take the kids to the playground, there was a store nearby, and I'd buy all this candy and eat it while they were playing. And they wouldn't bug me for it because they were so happy to be on swings and merry-go-rounds and slides and teeter-totters and all that stuff. And I'd sit on the swing and just eat. And my mouth is filled with cavities today of what teeth I have left that aren't crowns, or that other horrible thing they say, the root canal things or whatever it is. And So I ate and ate and ate. My first addiction was definitely sugar, and then I would move on to things like eating cake mixes, uncooked into cakes, Toll House cookie dough unmade into cookies, things like that. In fact, eating a Toll House cookie seemed like a weird thing because I was so used to eating bowls of raw cookie dough, all to myself, being an only child, don't you know? So, yeah, it was like, And so the scale kept moving up and up, and nobody cared back then, you know. I found the best solution to dealing with the dysfunctional alcoholic home was to get myself to camps. So I went to a lot of different camps where they had 3 meals a day. You could have access to all this food, and I even blossomed more. I used humor as my buffer to the world of cruelty. And of course, being all-girl camps, there wasn't a lot of stuff towards me for being chubby. Clothes didn't fit, so when I say chubby, my grandmother would bring me to this store on Main Street here in Hyannis, and where we would shop for little fat girl clothes. And so it was just a given. I became pretty funny. I became quite the party giver, and food and alcohol became my 2 best friends for quite a long time. And I guess you could say I was successful at finding my 2 friends. My drinking didn't get worse until my 30s, but my food was always there. Always, always, always. And I was just a pig, and food was just my comfort. I entered Overeaters Anonymous in my early 20s because I realized there was a problem. I was working in a pizza place, a pizza alcohol place where we were allowed to eat whatever we wanted. We were allowed to drink whatever we wanted. So, yeah, I just got bigger. My highest not pregnant weight was probably 175, 180. I was solid. Picture a field hockey star in high school where I could kick you to the curb in no time. And so I worked in this place for 6, 7 years in my 20s, and where you could eat pizza and subs and Peggy Lawton cookies and chips and drink whatever you wanted, and that was my existence. Now, as a lot of doctors say today, I probably didn't gain as much as I would have were I in my 30s, 40s, or 50s, because I was young and my carb metabolism burner was still working on high. And so I got away with unbelievable bad food habits. Bad, bad, bad. You know, like eating a pizza at 11 o'clock at night with all these cream alcoholic drinks. Crazy. So that was my lifestyle. And you get home from work around 2 in the morning and pass out from either the alcohol or the food or the excitement of the night, get up the next day and start it all over again. After I got drunk, I would crave food. It was not out of the question for me to drive through other towns to get to diners, to get to those home fries. And Louis Anderson, you know, that guy from Baskets, he had a stand-up thing where he would get drunk and crave beets at a diner, and he would lie on the ground and go, "Beets, beets, I have to have beets." Well, for me, my cry was home fries. And, oh yeah, you can throw in the eggs and sausage or bacon. Whatever's the fattiest, whatever you got. Just give me everything fat. Fat, 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 fat. And so after the sugar indoctrination into being a food addict, I added fat. Not the good kinds of fat, of course, the kinds that came where it would be mixed with white flour and sugar as well, known as desserts and things like that. And so when I got married, I was a size 14, and that was because there was an Empire waistline in my wedding gown, so probably if I had a slim one like they wear today, it probably would have been an 18 to 20, but you could hide a lot under an Empire waist, as we know. And so that was that. Got married at 20 for the first time, and was divorced in 3.5 years. And so there I was, under 24, with one marriage under my belt, no kids, drinking and eating and doing all I could. I mean, I was just a pig. I was a pig drinker, I was a pig eater. And so trotting along came husband number 2. And now in those days, tisk, tisk, I wouldn't have lived with somebody unless I was married. So I could have saved myself a lot of grief by not marrying in haste and divorcing with a dwindling bank account, right? So I got married again at 26, 27, I guess, yeah. Probably a year and a half had elapsed after the first marriage. And that was the marriage that I had 2 sons with this husband, and I had 8 stepchildren. Instantly. Yes, I ate and I drank and I bought their love. And then I medicated with food and booze, food and booze, food and booze, working in a new barroom at this point, not the old barroom. And this barroom specialized in French fries and prime rib and deli sandwiches. And yet again, I found another place that I could eat whatever I want and drink whatever I want. And so I think you guys are seeing the theme and the pattern of this. I had baby number 1 after a couple of years, and baby number 2 after a couple of years after that. And I actually slimmed down after my second baby, and it was probably because I nursed both, but by the time baby number 2 came around, I don't know, I lost the weight running after baby number 1 and nursing number 2, I guess. I don't know. Who knows? I wasn't paying attention. Who pays attention? All I know is that I was still solid. I think probably my metabolism was beginning to slow, but by age 33, I was probably in the 160s after 2 kids and drinking heavily and eating heavily, but drinking heavily more. And I will stop this section, so when we resume my story, Nona Grace, you will hear the next chapter. And so up until age 36, I was eating and drinking without needing anybody's permission. And so whatever size I was, it was okay. Luftig is how I would have described myself. And I was never a twig. And so I was what I used to call was a big-boned girl. Big-boned, I'm big-boned. Well, I have the tiniest wrists you've ever seen if you were with me now. And so I was not big-boned. I was just solid because I was young and the fat wasn't sloshy yet, jiggly yet. I was just this solid mass of who knows what. So the next time we resume, I'm almost 36, and we will pick it up from there. This has been Sarah, Pearls of Wisdom and Food, with my history that leads me to Keto Under 20 today, 31 years later. But right now, that's just 3.5 decades of my life. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye for now.